Yasser Louati is a French human rights and civil liberties activist. He joins us now from Paris. Yasser, thank you for your time. Look, what's wrong with the proposed pension reforms that people are so angry that this strike is happening?
Well, actually, this pension reform is coming after multiple aggressive reforms pushed for by Emmanuel Macron. On top of it, the president being elected in the conditions we all know that he held the electorate or the voters hostage between either himself or the far right with Marine Le Pen, and he has been acting as if his legitimacy was never put into question. On top of it, the Yellow Vest movement was sparked over a year ago, and now they have been systematically rallying and marching in Paris every single Saturday. Now Emmanuel Macron is pushing forward for a pension reform. He says almost nobody knows about the details, but everybody knows the general direction of that reform. He's saying we are trying to have a universal pension fund for everybody. And as I was saying to others, is that this pension reform will actually put everybody towards a lower benchmark. And he's using the excuse that some jobs and some economic sectors have a specific pension fund. That's only 3% of the workforce in France. That's it. The rest of us all rely on a universal pension fund scheme. Now, Emmanuel Macron wants to say that, well, if you put €1 in the basket, it's going to be €1 collected. But he fails to mention that the euro given by a railway worker is different from a euro put in the basket by a banker or by an engineer or a person in higher management positions. Why? Because of the income differences proportionately, and second, because of the arduousness of the work they practice, which means soon as you retire, how much longer will you live on that pension? So the system will actually perpetuate the inequalities before retirement and after retirement. And now Emmanuel Macron saying that he wants to change the pension reform after failing to give money or credits to hospitals, schools, and even the police, has actually managed to turn almost the whole working sector in France against his policies.
These are direct quotes from Emmanuel Macron made very recently. He said, there is an over-concentration of wealth in some hands. We have a crisis of capitalism. Our global economy has failed to improve the situation of the middle classes. Why don't people believe that he's trying to make reforms that are going to benefit the majority? He's admitted that there's a problem.
Yeah, but he's doing nothing against it. As simple as that. So he has continuously held the discourse that you just have, and I'm quoting him this time, you only have to cross the street to get a job, or you need to work harder to buy a suit like me, and I'm quoting him. And now he sees that the growing anger pushed from the bottom by the Yellow Vest movement is actually backlashing against him. Yes, there is an unfair concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. The problem is that all his reforms that he has acted and signed and made a reality for millions of us have only benefited those very tiny hands holding the wealth in France. Bernard Arnault, François Pinault, they all have, I forgot the figures, but they earned billions in the 2 years that Emmanuel Macron has been in power. So yes, it's one thing to say something on television that, yeah, I understand you guys, because he's afraid of the movement, because now, for once, all the union leaders have agreed all together. Many have organized outside of the traditional union framework, and Emmanuel Macron is giving nothing but empty discourse. He had 2 years to show some kind of willingness to tackle social injustice in France. He did nothing about it, and as a matter of fact, he made things even worse.
Yasser, voters can only look to the individuals who lead their countries, or they can look to a political philosophy. Emmanuel Macron took over from François Hollande, who was a socialist, who was hugely unpopular in the last half of his presidency. So what are the French people looking for now? Are they looking for a beacon? Are they looking for an individual who can change the system? Or are they looking for a political philosophy that can restructure the system of governance in France and give them what they want?
Well, that's the major flaw in our French political history. We are constantly looking for the savior, or what we call in French, l'homme providentiel. And we see it even the way history is taught to us in public schools, yeah, Napoleon, the king, and Charles de Gaulle, etc. But now people are starting to realize that whether they were being governed by the left or the right, the policies were actually the same. From François Mitterrand, who was a socialist president in the 1980s, he began applying what we call the austerity turn, meaning that we have to follow the injunctions of the stock market. And those same policies have been followed through by Jacques Chirac, by Nicolas Sarkozy, and François Hollande. You say he was a socialist. Well, socialist is such a huge word that nobody believes. The Socialist Party is still a left-wing party. But Emmanuel Macron is just following in the footsteps of policies implemented for the past 40 years. Now the question is, how much longer are these policies to be applied? Nobody knows the answer. In 1995, for example, Alain Juppé, the first prime minister under Jacques Chirac, tried a similar reform, and the whole country was frozen because the unions saw it coming. Now, this time we are comparing the mobilization of today, December the 5th, with 1995. Only the near future will tell us whether the French people are questioning Emmanuel Macron as a president or the whole neoliberal policies we have been witnessing for the past 40 years.
Yasser, you put your analysis in such a succinct and a deliberate way. It's really interesting to hear what you have to say about what's happening in your country. Yasser Louati in Paris.